Hello, my name is Stephen Hill for Right Mindset Training, and I'm talking to you today about the way that each one of us can learn to be the best version of ourselves, even when the situations become very, very difficult. Do you think it's an accident that the best athletes have highly paid sports psychologists advising them? It's not. And for us to be the best, there are techniques now available, mental techniques that are very easy to use and that we can have access to now. Even the US Navy SEALs have found that if they coach their candidates for their incredibly tough entry course, then they have a far higher level of success. And these techniques are available. The Big Four, they call them, and very simple things that most of you will be pretty familiar with some of them, but when we put them all together, they become very powerful. Wouldn't you like to be the best version of yourselves, even when things get tough in your relationship or at work? Did you know that cognitive behavioral therapy is the most proven, most powerful, and effective psychological therapy available? And so what it does is looks at the thinking that leads to the feelings, and those wrong feelings follow the wrong thoughts into the wrong actions or the wrong decisions. And by going back and looking at the types of thinking that lead to those wrong decisions, it's quite a simple thing to find out the cause and re-script. Learn to re-script when those situations arise, and we can learn to be the best we can possibly be in the difficult situations that arise in our lives. So cognitive behavioral therapy is very powerful, and it's at the root of what the US Navy SEALs do with their Big Four. And the first of these is working with the goal setting, not just long-term goal setting, but short-term goal setting. Not looking at lasting a whole week in that rigorous course, but just focusing on what we need to focus on now, which is getting through to lunchtime. And by making short-term goals, we have a greater chance of making it through without having any disasters or bad decisions made. So that's the first one. The second one is mental rehearsal or visualization, going through what's going to happen before it actually happens. And then our mind and body is prepared for the different eventualities. So visualization is a very, very good tool to prepare us for anything we're going to be engaged in. And self-talk, we need to be watching our internal dialogue, don't we? It often gets negative, and it can allow the back of the brain, the feelings, to come in and take over and press the panic button. And so this helps, like all these do, to keep the frontal lobe, the rational frontal lobe, to make the decisions rather than the feelings. And that can be very disastrous when the feelings, and you can imagine an elite athlete would find this very useful when the pressure's on and their thoughts are all over the place, to coming back to getting the frontal lobe and rehearsing the game plan or whatever it was that the coach has been putting in their mind, which includes, of course, the goals and the self-talk, the visualization, and the final one is arousal control. In those minutes just before the beginning of a race, or when we're about to have an interview with a very wealthy client, and it's a lot at risk, we may find that our emotions are trying to take over from our rational brain. And these arousal control techniques are very, very powerful, because the mind and the body are very closely connected. And if we just simply extend our breath and make it longer and slower, rather than a panting type of fight or flight situation, it will start to slow the mind down a little bit and bring it back to off panic mode and back to the sensible decisions of the frontal lobe. And in that way, we can be far more effective in that important interview. And these sorts of techniques are incredibly useful If we're having struggles in a relationship, again, rather than pressing the emotional button and yelling and screaming, when that arises, if we can keep the front of the brain in control and keep the voice and the communication reasonable and polite, then things can go forward in a much, much better way. And we'll be looking at goal setting, which when we put it into a mission statement, we're very clear where we're going, then we're like a ship with a rudder, which is on course. If we don't have goals, we're not clear on the goals or our mission statement in life, then we're like a ship without a rudder and we're going nowhere. Is your life going nowhere? Or is it having limited direction? Then join me please in the following series of videos and we can get you on track together. I look forward to your company. Thank you.